And Rosh Hashanah is what? It's Wednesday night. It's not waiting for any of us. By the Mukubalim, there's a teaching in the Sefer Yetzirah that says that any holiness that we have in time during the year corresponds to a holiness that we have in place, a place in the earth. For example, the holiest day of the year is Yom Kippur. That time, that holiness in time corresponds to the holiness of the Beis Hamikdash in place. And within Yom Kippur, the holiest part of Yom Kippur is Ne'ilah. And so too, that time of space of holiness of Ne'ilah corresponds to the Kaddish HaKodshim, the Holy of Holies in the Beis Hamikdash. So the Mekubalim say that the night of Slichas, which is going to be this Motzei Shabbos, is us, that's in space, that corresponds to entering the city of Yerushalayim. So from Slichas, we're traveling through space, from the beginning of Yerushalayim into the Beis Hamikdash and eventually into the Holy of Holies. So we have to understand what's going on. What's going on? We're living in a very, very, very serious time, very significant and very holy time space. So we have to try to connect to it as much as we can. So opening pasuk in this week's parasha is Atem Netzavim Hayom Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokeichem. That you are standing in front of Hashem today. All of you are standing in front of Hashem today. Rasheichem, your heads, Shiftechem, the heads of your tribes, Ziknechem, your elders, Shatrechem, the policemen, Kol Ish Yisrael, everybody. Tabchem, Neshechem, the women, the children, Gercha Shebekerev Marchanecha, the Gerim, Michayta Veitzach Hashav Mecha, from the lumberjacks and the water carriers, everybody. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem, everybody is standing in front of Hashem today. And the Zohar says that what is the day that this pasuk is referring to? Ha Yom means Yom Dedina Rabbah, the day of great judgment, the day of Rosh Hashanah. So there's something about Rosh Hashanah that means that every single Jewish person is standing in front of Hashem today. Hayom. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem, everybody is standing in front of Hashem today. So the Medrash Tanchuma begins with this on this pasuk with the following thing. What does it mean to stand in front of Hashem? As opposed to what? There's no place else to go. You can't run away. What does it mean to stand in front of Hashem? Listen to the Medrash. The Medrash says, Kol zman sha'kadosh baruch hu mistakel b'maseim shel Rishayim. Whenever Hashem looks at the deeds of Rishayim, umeshapich behem, and looks into them well, ein lem tekuma, they never are able to stand in front of Him. They always fall apart. Rishayim never make it to the finish line. They never make it. Hafach b'maseim shel dor hamabel. Hashem investigated into the actions of the generation of the flood, and they were destroyed. And it goes on, they investigated into the generation of the dispersion, and they fell apart. Avul Yisrael, says the Medrash, but the Jewish people, noiflin v'ayimdim, even if they fall, they still stand up. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem means that even if throughout the entire year the person has been constantly falling, nevertheless, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, you're standing in the same place you always were. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokeichem. You're back up again. Sheva Yipol Tzadik. The tzaddik might fall 7 times, v'kam, but at the end of the day, he stands up. So what does that mean? What does that mean? What is it about the Jewish person that gives him the strength to deal with all types of nefilas, all types of difficulties and lackings and failures in the service of Hashem, but still, nevertheless, we have the strength to stand up? So that's something, it's so important for us, because again, we're living in times where we're constantly bombarded with our own self-doubt, with our own failures, that we know we don't live up to necessarily what we believe we can be. But there is something inside of us that gives us the strength to nevertheless stand up and to, confront it all and nevertheless say, no, I'm still a servant of Hashem. So where is that strength coming from? That's question number 1. Question number 2, the day of Rosh Hashanah we know is besides being Rosh Hashanah itself, it's also the beginning of Aser Simei Tshuva, the 10 days of Tshuva, culminating with Yom Kippur. So the question is, what part of the service of Rosh Hashanah that we're involved in has anything to do with Tshuva? Everything about Rosh Hashanah is talking about Hashem is the King. Hashem is the King. And the truth is, part of that is hard for us to tap into, because we don't know of a king, we don't understand that concept of royalty so much. But where in Rosh Hashanah do we connect to the fact that it's the beginning of the Aser Simei Tshuva, 10 days of Tshuva? Yom Kippur is about Tshuva. The days between Rosh Hashanah, we have Tzom Gedalia, right? The days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is about Tshuva. Where in Rosh Hashanah do we do Tshuva at all? That's number 2. Number 3. What's the main, I guess, I don't know if you want to say the word theme, but the main mitzvah of the day of Rosh Hashanah is what? The mitzvah of Shofar. Tekiyah Shofar, blowing the Shofar. What does that mean? What's the inyan behind the mitzvah of Tekiyah Shofar? Obviously, it's like Xeris HaKasav. Hashem tells us to do it. We do it. That's the way we do it. But But what aspect of shofar can we connect to find in it some chizik in ourselves, to find in it some way of reestablishing ourselves in front of Hashem, to be mechazik ourselves. So I want to talk about something which is it's not a simple thing. I mean, again, it's not complex at all. I don't mean like that, but it's something that it's necessary for us to confront. The pasuk says in Tehillim that Ner Hashem nishmas adam, that the soul of a person is compared to a flame, to a candle. Ner Hashem nishmas adam. What does that mean? Why is the neshama of a Jew compared to a candle? So the Baal Tanya says the following. The Baal Tanya says in Sefer HaTanya the following thing. He says, if you look at the candle, a candle is constantly trying to jump out of off the wick. That's what a candle, the flame on a candle, is constantly jumping. It's constantly trying to escape the wick. Says the Sefer HaTanya, what's the flame trying to do? Says the Baal Tanya that the flame, its instinct, its natural instinct is to escape the wick that's holding it, and to fly to the sun, go back to its source. That is the nature of fire. The nature of fire is to escape the thing that's imprisoning it, that's holding it down to this world, and it's trying to escape to its source. Says the Sefer HaTanya that the nature of the Jewish neshama, as far as it might seem to us, the natural instinct of a Jew is to escape, and to constantly try to escape the body, and to break the shackles of this world, to become enveloped in the light of Hashem. And it's suicidal. The Baal Tanya says the nature of a Jew is to be suicidal. The neshama wants to escape the body. The neshama wants to escape everything about this world, because everything in this world, the neshama it feels like it's being held back from being its true self. Everything in this world is saying to the neshama, you can't express your passionate love for Hashem that you naturally feel. And the neshama wants to escape. It wants to jump out of the body like the flame wants to jump out of the wick. Ner Hashem nishmas adam. Ner Hashem nishmas adam. The soul of a person is like the flame on a candle. It's trying to escape. The problem is that the neshama is forced into the body, though. The problem is that that the neshama, as passionately in love as it is with Hashem, and as much as it wants to become, like commit suicide, and just become completely enveloped in the greatness of Hashem, nevertheless Hashem takes that soul and puts it down in this world. Why? Why is it? What's the tachlis? What's the purpose for the neshama to be put down here? What's the purpose for the neshama to be put down here? So the Zohar says, you know why every neshama is put on earth? You know why we're all down here? Is because Hashem wants to make us into Bali Tshuva. That's what the Zohar says. The Zohar says that Hashem wants each and every one of us to become Bali Tshuva. What does that mean? What's the life of a tzaddik? Pretend that we're all tzaddikim for a second. Pretend that none of us have ever sinned. None of us have ever done anything terrible. Nothing. We constantly were born in holiness. We've kept every mitzvah that we're supposed to. We've done nothing wrong with our lives. So the Svarim explained that when a tzaddik lives, he doesn't necessarily have to dig down deep into himself to find to tap into that passionate love that the neshama naturally has. The life of a tzaddik that never went through any problems, that was never thrown down into any chasms, that never had any obstacles in his way, never needs to build his muscles at all. He never needs to dig down into the recesses of his own neshama and tap into that unbelievable passionate energy of the neshama. The tzaddik never needs it. The tzaddik never needs to it. But what happens to someone who commits averos? What happens to someone who, even though he knows what he's supposed to be doing, you know what you're supposed to be doing, but nonetheless the Yetzer Hara has its ways, and you don't live the way you're supposed to live? What happens to such a Jew? How do you climb out of the prison of sin? So the Sfarim say the only way to climb out of it is to dig down and tap into that unbelievable reservoir that's called the Jewish soul. Listen to the words of the Baal Tanya. These are unbelievable words. He says the following. This is the reason why our neshamas are sent down to this world. To make us into Bali Tshuva. He says, because while our souls were still in Gan Eden before we came down here, we were all righteous. We never did anything wrong before we came here. And therefore we were constantly just enjoying Hashem's presence. And he says, because that's what tzaddikim want. The way they serve Hashem is with the intellect. They never have to dig down into that passionate reservoir of the neshama. They just go with the vessels that they're given. They never have to, they don't have to build up their muscles. Everything goes smoothly. But then when the neshama is taken from that place of simplicity, where everything is easy and everything is in its proper place, and it doesn't have to dig down into that unbelievable strength of itself, when it's sent down into the body, the nefesh bahamis, with the animal soul that we live with, nasu b'chinas bali tshuva, we're forced to become bali tshuva, even before you sin, even before a person did anything wrong. You're forced automatically to become a bali tshuva. What does that mean? Lo shuv l'mala, it means to break all barriers and to return. And how does one get the strength to break the barriers that you're forced into? Ki yesh master malam, because there's barriers. There are barriers in life. The body is a barrier. Physical life is a barrier between us and what we can become. And because of that, the only way out is to scream. The only way out is to scream with passionate screaming. No longer can a person use his intellect and just go with the easy already made path to find his way out. The only way out of the body, the way out of tumma, the way out of problems, and the way to return to Hashem is to dig down into that unbelievable passionate reservoir that we all have within us, and to give out a scream. Doesn't necessarily mean to physically scream out. The pasuk says, "Mimamakim kirasich Hashem," that from the deeper part of yourself, you have to call out to Hashem. You can't just go by rote and keep on doing mitzvahs. You have to keep on doing mitzvahs, but you can't just keep on doing mitzvahs in a simplistic way, because it's not going to break you free. That's not where you're going to find the keys to the prison. The keys to the prison are found deep down within the strength of the neshama. That's where the solution is. It's the inwardness. It's the inwardness of the heart. It's deep down within ourselves. Hashem planted within the neshama the power of unbelievable suicidal love for Hashem. And each one of us has that. We maybe never, it's hard for us to tap into it. But the Storms say when a Jew is put into risk of committing one of the three major averos of idolatry, not living with someone you're not supposed to live with, and murder. So the halach is you have to sacrifice your life, right? So we look at that and we imagine that if a Jew is put in such a situation, we imagine that what a terrible test. Mamish, unbelievable. It's such a struggle to be able to overcome and to literally kill yourself, not to do an avera, unbelievable. But you know what the Sfarim say? The Sfarim say that that's all true. It seems very difficult when you're not in it. The Sfarim say, if God forbid, it shouldn't be with any of us or anybody, but God forbid, the Sfarim say, if a Jew is put in such a place where he has to choose sacrificing his life or detaching himself from Hashem, the Sfarim say, as hard as it might seem for us, separated from that, the Sfarim say, at the time, it's easy. Why? Why is it easy for a Jew at that moment where he's put either separate from God or suicide? Why is it easy? The answer is because at that moment, that reservoir, that deep, suicidal, passionate love that each and every one of us has within us is woken up. On the average Tuesday morning, it's not woken. On the average Tuesday morning, it lays dormant within us, waiting to be unleashed. But at that moment, when the guy has the gun to the Jew's head and says, either convert or die, that passionate, suicidal love that's called the soul being compared to a flame on a wick that's trying to escape all of its life, it comes bursting out. And at that point, when that power of the neshama is unleashed, it's not a big deal to give up on one's life. It's not a big deal at all. The job of a yid in this world is to tap into that. We all have it. And it's there, and it's there waiting for us to tap into. The way out, Hashem wants us to become Bali Tshuva. And as the Gemara says, when a person becomes a Baal Tshuva, it means that when he's tapping into that passionate love for Hashem, that it gives him the strength to break all barriers. Says the Gemara, that the place where the Baal Tshuva is able to reach, Ein Tzadikim Gemur Michal Lamed. A Tzadik Gomer isn't able to stand. Because when the Baal Tshuva has to tap into reservoirs of his neshama that the Tzadik doesn't even know exists. When a person is everything is going easy. When a person never fell. When a person never stumbles, and he never faces any obstacles, then it's not a big deal. He never has to find within himself any sense of real strength. Everything is easy. If a person's a child, when a person raises a child, when he's a child and he doesn't have high levels of intellect and of emotional strength, you have to give him an easy life. Everything has to come on a silver platter, and that's the way it should be. But that's not the tachlis. We have to become adults. What does it mean to be an adult in Yiddishkeit? To be an adult in Yiddishkeit means to dig down and to find inner strength. That's what being an adult is. That's what being an adult is. And Hashem took our neshamas from the state of tzaddikim and stuck us in this planet for the purpose of making us into Bali Tshuva. That's what he says. He says, Ki tshuva davki, he is galus pnimis alev, because tshuva means the revelation, the revealment of the inner part of the lev, inner part of the heart, that is screaming for Hashem, constantly. Rav Kook says in one of his in his introduction to Tefillah, Rav Kook writes that Hanashama, he tamid mispalelas, that the neshama of a Jew is constantly davening. So why are we only davening 3 times a day? When we daven 3 times a day, we're trying to connect to the davening of the neshama that's happening 24/7. The neshama of a Jew, tshuva, means tapping into that part of ourselves that's constantly yearning for Hashem. So, throughout the entire year, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But the time of Rosh Hashanah, the time of Yom Kippur, this time where we're entering into Yerushalayim, entering into the Beis HaMikdash, entering this time, this area of holiness, the job of a Jew is not to escape from himself and not to try to convert into being someone else. The job of tshuva, the responsibility and the tremendous chus that we have on us is what? To find our strength and to connect to ourselves. Tshuva doesn't just mean to return to Hashem. Tshuva means to return to yourself. Because if you look into yourself and you reconnect to who you really are, you'll find Hashem there. That's what we say in Slichas. We translate into English. We say that Hashem, I want to escape. And where am I going to escape? I escape to you. That's what tshuva is. Tshuva is not trying to become, reborn and to become someone different. That's not what tshuva is. Tshuva is to dig down and to tap into the unbelievable passion, that reservoir of passion that we have within ourselves. He says, this is what the shofar is about. What's a shofar? Shofar is pure, unadulterated sound. That's what a shofar is, right? What's sound? Sound is, when a person wants to speak, words are finite. Words are finite. If I say the word please, I said the word please and I didn't say any other word. There's no more potential in the word please than the word itself. That's it. Words are finite. The service of a tzaddik that doesn't have to break through any barriers. Everything is going smoothly. Doesn't have to tap into that infinite reservoir of strength that he has within him. That's called serving Hashem with words. Because words are finite. You don't have to tap into anything unbelievable for it. It's words. That's the word. The world of davening with words means you're just going. You're going on the path that's already there. You're not creating anything new. You're going with the path that's already there. It's finite. It is what it is. And that's what you do. You know what koil is? What's sound? What's pure sound? Sound is infinite. Sound has all potential. All words could be made up of pure sound. What's the shofar? The shofar is telling a Jew that it's Rosh Hashana. You know the beginning of tshuva. What's the aleph base of tshuva? The beginning of tshuva, Rosh Hashana, is what? Is to tap into that infinite reservoir of pure sound that we have inside of us that's just screaming. It's just screaming. The inside reservoir of the neshama is screaming not specifically for a parnasa, not specifically for health, not specifically for hatzlacha and whatever it might be. It's just screaming. It's just calling out to Hashem because it wants to return to its source. That's it. It's pure, unadulterated love for Hashem. That's what the shofar is reminding us of. The shofar is telling us that it's good. You have to speak words. You have to ask Hashem for refuah. You have to ask Hashem for whatever your personal needs might be. But know that the source of those words have to be the pure sound of the neshama that's simply calling out to our Father in heaven to connect to Him. That's it. That's what shofar is. He says, how does this all take place? How is it that in Rosh Hashanah we're tapping into that unbelievable passionate reservoir of just simple love for Hashem? Who inyan ha-shofar, that's what the shofar is. Who kol pashat, it's a simple, uncomplicated sound. Shenimshach mihev olev, that comes from the heart. It's not words that has specific demands, or it's specified in a specific direction. What where your thoughts are taking you. It's just simple, unadulterated, passionate love for Hashem. That's it. Words come from letters that come from thoughts. It's finite. That's not what shofar. That's not what Rosh Hashanah is about. Rosh Hashanah is about opening up that sometimes untapped reservoir of simple love for Hashem. There's a ma'aseh they say with the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov one time appointed one of his students to be the Baltakeya, on Rosh Hashana for him. So already from the beginning of El, Baal Shem Tov sat down with him and started to teach him all the mysteries of the Arizal, all the meditations and all the names of Hashem that are connected to the shofar. That when he's blowing, he should be able to think about all these meditations. So it's a whole long ma'aseh how it happened. But at the end of the day, the Talmud wrote it down. He lost it. He re-got it from his Rebbe again. He lost it again. Basically, by the time came Rosh Hashanah, he completely lost his notes and he remembered nothing. He literally remembered nothing, and he was completely heartbroken. Now his Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, is relying on him to blow shofar, and relying on him to have all the, to break the heavens with his meditations and everything like that. And he has nothing. So what did he do? So what am I going to do? He blew the shofar with the simple thought of, Hashem told us to blow the shofar, and that's why I'm blowing the shofar. So after the Rosh Hashanah after the Tekiyos were over, the Baal Shem Tov took him to the side and said, I know what happened. I know that you forgot everything and you lost all the meditations and everything I taught you. And I know that you're tzibrochen. I know that you're terribly upset. Your heart is broken over the fact that you weren't able to blow the shofar the way that you wanted to. But the Baal Shem Tov said, but let me tell you something. You know the purpose of all those meditations, of all those writings of the Arizal, everything that I taught you. You know what the purpose is? The purpose is to open that chamber of the heart that's called a broken heart. The purpose of all that is to get to a broken heart. So you got to it anyway. You didn't need all those meditations. You got to the broken heart. The tachlis of the shofar is not the mind anymore. It's not to get caught up in the details. The mitzvah of shofar, the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah is just simply to have a broken heart. That's what it is. That's the avoid of Rosh Hashanah. To say Hamelch, to say Hashem, you're the king. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means to be a king. I don't know what it means really to be a Jew. But all I know is that I want to become it. That's it. I know that I want you to be my king, and I know that I want to be a Jew. That's it. It's as simple as that. A simple broken heart is the tachlis of Rosh Hashanah. That's it. And everything else, all the complicated, everything, the convoluted, everything falls away to the simplicity of the sound of the shofar, which is, I simply want to be better. That's it. That's it. And that simplicity of the shofar is coming from an unbelievable passion reservoir that's found in our neshamas. That our neshamas isn't screaming necessarily about parnasa or about schoolwork. It's not. It's simply screaming about it wants to be better. It wants to return to the King. It wants to return to our Father in heaven. And Rosh Hashanah is about tapping into that simplicity. That's what it's about. So what we were talking about before. What gives the Jewish person that strength that after all nefilas, after all shortcomings and all difficulties, we're able to nonetheless stand up and become who we have to become? The answer is because deep down the neshama knows that all those shortcomings, all those problems, every problem, every obstacle that we find in our way in this world, it knows that it's easily overcome. It knows that easily, after everything, you cannot destroy that unbelievable, passionate, simple love for Hashem. Like the pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, Mayim Rabim Layuchel Lichbes Sahava, that all the great waters of this world are not able to extinguish that simple, passionate love for Hashem. It's unable. Listen, let me read to you some words of the Marv Shemesh. The Marv Shemesh was one of the great. He was the greatest student of the Noam Elimelech, Rav Melech from Lezhensk. He writes the following thing. It's in Parsha Shemais. He says, "Amnam yesh itim." There are times. Says the Marv Shemesh. There are times. She'ein hatfil yichol la'alos l'mala. There are some times where a person's davening. He's davening. He's doing whatever he has to do. His davening is not penetrating. It's not penetrating him. It's not penetrating heaven. It's not working. Because there's problems, there's obstacles in your way that stand like an iron wall. Your tefillas aren't able to go. So what's the answer? What's the answer to that? What happens in a place where a person is davening and it's not working? So he says, Isa B'Zar Kaddish, the Zara says the solution is lizoik me'umka deliba, to scream out from the heart. That's it. To put the siddur down for a moment. You have to go back to the siddur, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, put it down for a second and just scream from your heart. That's what he says. B'chol kavanas, with everything you have. Shehirak kol levad beloy oisias. Just simple sound without words. Just go back to basics. Just go back to basics. Like the pasuk says, Karev Hashem l'chol karev. Hashem promises that He's close to all that call out to Him. To who? But who? L'chol asher yikru, to all that call to Him, be'emes, with truth. Without sophistication, simplicity, just to be honest with oneself. take the fact that you're not able to daven well and turn that into a davening. You scream, a person's davening refrain when he doesn't feel it. It's not working. So you put down the siddur for a moment and you think to Hashem, Hashem, help me want to daven. That's a simple. That's what it means to have a simple voice, uncomplicated. I'm asking you simply to be a good Jew. That's it. It's as simple as that. He says because v'ayna, and if a person calls out with a simple voice, just like that, uncomplicated, he will be answered. And in a certain way, those davenings are more special than davening with words. He says, because with words, the Yetzirah could get involved, the Satan could get involved, who knows? But not when a person just screams out. Because Hashem levad yedei machshavoseh, because then only Hashem is listening. When a person says words other people could hear, malachim could hear, other people get involved. When a person just simply calls out with a sound, the simple sound of the shofar, it's only Hashem that listens. That's why the Gemara says that we blow shofar in Rosh Hashana so many times to confuse the Satan. What does it mean to confuse the Satan? Every year he keeps on getting confused again and again? What does that mean? So on a deeper level, what that means is because the sound of the shofar, he can't hear that. The Satan, the Yetzirah, they hold on to us in the world in that finite world of words, of letters. That's when the Yetzirah attacks us. But in that simple place of sound, of unadulterated love for Hashem that's found in the neshama, the Yetzirah has no place. We blow the shofar so many times because by the time we blow it so many times, the Yetzirah has no place. That's what it means to confuse the Satan. He says this is what happened with Yetzias Mitzrayim. What was the trigger that took us out of Egypt? What does the pasuk say? The pasuk says, "Vahi b'yom harab mehem." That in those long days, the king of Egypt died, and what happened? What was the trigger that got us out? Vayi onchu b'nei Yisrael min havodah. We krechts from the davening. We just kvetched from it. We moaned from the work. Vayizaku, we called out. It doesn't say vayispalalu that they davened. It doesn't say that they said words. Vayizaku, they simply called out. Vatal shavasam el elokim avodah, and their screaming went up to heaven. That's what it says. Their screaming went up to heaven. It's as simple as that. A Jewish scream, we have no idea how powerful it is. We have no idea. We have no idea. That's what David Melch's whole life is davening. Mimamakim karasich Hashem, that I'm calling from you from the depths of my heart, the depths of my neshama. So Rosh Hashana is the day that Atem Nitzavim Hayam Kuch Lefnei Hashem Elokeichem, that we're able to face Hashem. What gives us the strength to face Hashem? The ability that we have to face Hashem comes from the fact that we know and we're tapping into that simple part of us that never left from Hashem. That never left. Our lives were all, the past couple parshas, there has been a lot of movement. The names of the past parshas have been Kiseitze, when you go out. Kisava, when you come back. There's a lot of movement. What's this sixth parsha? Nitzavim. Stand still. What does that mean? It means the whole year there's a part of us that's running and going and complicated and running and we're going back and forth. We have no idea what's going on. We're confusing ourselves. The day of Rosh Hashanah is going back to simplicity, going back to fundamentals, Just tapping into that place that never left Hashem. That's what the shofar is, expressing that simplicity, that simple ani mamin. I believe in perfect faith that there's a God in heaven, and I want to tap into, and I want to connect to Him. It's as simple as that. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. And tshuva comes from there. That's what tshuva is built on. Rosh Hashanah is the first day of the Aseret Mei Tshuva because that's the Aleph Beis of tshuva. The Aleph Beis of tshuva is to return to yourself. Rosh Hashanah is finding yourself. That's what Rosh Hashanah is, tapping into that part of you that never left Hashem, that always wanted to be with Hashem. Like Rav Kook said, that the neshama is constantly davening. This is what Rosh Hashanah is about. This is how a person has to enter. So we're going to come to Motzei Shabbos by Slichas. There's a lot of things to think about. There's a lot of things to focus on. We could focus on our shortcomings. We could focus on the practical things that we have to take care of. But the first thing to think about, the first thing to focus on is just the fact that I believe that there's a one God, and everything comes from that one God, and I want to serve that one God. And whether I really want to, or I think I want to, I want to. Right? I want to serve Hashem. That's what a Jew has to have. It's just the simplicity. And once that simple part of us is opened up, it's infinite. The power of our neshamas is infinite. It's infinite because our neshamas are a part of Hashem who's infinite. We have no idea the inner strength that we have. Let me tell you a Maisa. Before the war, there was a shul in Krakow that was called Rav Isaac's shul, the Beis Medrash of Rav Isaac. Now this shul is an old shul. It was a beautiful, gorgeous. It was a really gorgeous building. It was very, very expensive. Obviously, this Rav Isaac, who built the building, was clearly someone who had a lot of money. So what's the story behind this Rav Isaac? How did he get his money? So the truth is, this Rav Isaac was not a rich guy at all. He was he was a tailor or whatever. He was not someone of great wealth. Where did he get his money? So the story goes like this, that there was a certain time where he kept on having the same dream over and over again. The dream was that there's a certain bridge, and in his dream he saw this bridge. It was a bridge in Prague, and the city of Prague, and in his dream he's by this bridge, and he's digging under the bridge, and as he's digging he finds this huge, unbelievable treasure. A huge, unbelievable treasure under the bridge, and he keeps on having this. It's not like he ever, visited Prague before. He's having this dream every night for like a month. So he says to himself, it's got to be a sign from heaven. I'm going to Prague. I'm going to find this bridge, and I'm going to find the money. Okay. So he goes to Prague and he investigates, and he finds this bridge that he's literally seeing in his dreams. The problem is that this bridge is right next to the mayor's mansion. So it's not like he could just go with a shovel and start digging under the bridge by the mayor's mansion. He can't get away with that. Because, besides the fact that he'll get caught, but even just then and there's constantly policemen that are on guard, protecting the mayor. So he keeps on going every day to try to maybe like time it. Maybe there's like a change in the shift, and maybe he could find like an hour to dig, whatever. So there's one policeman that's there also, and he keeps on. He sees this crazy Jew that just comes by, like he thinks he's sneaking, and he sees this guy like staring at the bridge for like the whole day. So one day he finally goes over to him. He said, "Jew, what are you doing here?" So he presses him, and Mr. Isaac says, "Listen, I'll be honest with you. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm not from Prague. I'm from Krakow." And I've been having this dream that I go to this bridge and I start digging, and under this bridge, I find a huge wealth. So I'm trying to see if it's real. So the guy starts laughing at ridiculous thing, your dreams. Let me tell you something. I've had a dream the past month. You know what? It's also a ridiculous thing. You can't listen to dreams. I've dreamt that there's a Jew in Krakow by the name of Isaac, that under his bed there's a huge treasure. And how ridiculous does that sound? So you're telling me that you're going to listen to dreams? The whole thing is ridiculous. So Rav Isaac gets the point, and he goes back home to his own bed, digs under his own bed, and he finds a huge treasure. And from that treasure, he built a shul in Krakow. So Rabbeinu from Shishcha used to say this story over to anybody. Rabbeinu said that whenever a chassid wanted to go far away, to go find a rebbe, to go find a tzaddik, to get a bracha from, whatever, Rabbeinu would always tell you, listen, I'm not going to stop you from doing, from going out, but I want to tell you this mice, and he would say this mice over, and he would say that a lot of times we think in order to find treasures, you have to go the far corners of the earth, to go crazy places and to become weird, strange people. Well, you don't know that the treasures that are available to us are mamish inside of us. Mamish inside of us. You don't necessarily have to go far to find unbelievable treasures, like this Isaac. He had to go to Prague to find the treasure that was underneath his own bed. Unbelievable. This is what Rosh Hashana is about. Rosh Hashana is about returning to ourselves. That's what Tshuva is. There's a treasure inside of all of us. You don't have to become something crazy and something new to become an Eved Hashem. You become an Eved Hashem by being you, by tapping into who you are. You have no idea the unbelievable strength that we have just by simply tapping into it. I just thought of another mice. I'll say it over. Why not? And then we'll end with this. I think I've said this over before, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. There's a mice that the Baal Tanya and two colleagues of his, I can't remember the exact names, but there was Baal Tanya and two colleagues of his. They were on a mission to collect money for a certain widow or whatever that needed, let's say, $1,000. So, and they basically went through the entire village, and they weren't able to collect more than 100. They still needed $1,000. So they were asking around the village, if there's anybody here that has enough money that could just, give us the money. So they said, there is one Jew at the end of town that he's very, very wealthy, and it's not a big deal for him to give $1,000, but he's the most stingy person on earth. You're not going to get a penny out of this guy. So the Baal Tanya says, let me try. So before he knocks on the door, he says to his colleagues, listen, what you're going to see is strange, but just go along with me. Okay. So Baal Tanya knocks on the door, the guy answers, he pleads his case, listen, this woman needs all the money, it's mamish terrible, she's going to die without the money. So the guy's like, you know what, I feel really bad. She clearly needs the money, having all you rabbis go around and collect for her, she clearly needs the money, so let me see what I could do. So he goes to his back room, he comes out and gives him a penny. He gives him a penny. Okay. So the other two guys are ready to take the penny and throw it back in his face. So Baal Tanya says, you know what? thank you so much. I know how hard this was for you. I know, listen, pennies are not easy to come by. It's very hard, but thank you so much. You have no idea what great a mitzvah this is. Thank you very much. And he walks away. As he's walking down the block, they're looking at the Baal Tanai like, whatever, it's ridiculous. The guy gave us a penny. He's living in a mansion. It's ridiculous. Baal Tanai says, listen, trust me. They walk down the block. All of a sudden, they hear his footsteps. The Gevir, the rich person, is running after them. And he says, you know what? I feel bad a little bit. Here's $1. Wow, $1. Thank you so much. You're such a tzaddik. Unbelievable mitzvah. Okay, and he goes back. They continue walking, and a few minutes later, they hear his footsteps again. You know what? Here's a 20. Here you go. Yeah, and slowly, this is how it happens until they have the full $1,000. That's the Maisa. So the colleagues looked at the Baal Tanai and said, how did you know that this was going to work? He said, the Baal Tanai said, because you don't know the nature of the neshama of a Jew. The neshama of a Jew is in love with Hashem. The neshama of a Jew wants to give all the money he can to help other Jews. All you have to do is tap into it. Once you're in, then it's infinite. The power of the neshama is infinite. This person, every time that he gave a penny to tzedakah, everybody else threw it back in his face and laughed at him and ridiculed him and shut the door for his neshama. It shut it. But what I did was simply keep it open. That's all I did. I didn't do anything special. I kept his neshama open by accepting the penny with a happy smile, and just naturally the Jew's going to give everything he can to help another. That's what Rosh Hashanah is about. So we have to come to Rosh Hashanah with this knowledge that in order to become proper Jews, all we have to do is simply return to ourselves. That's it. And the sound of the shofar will bring out in us the simple love of a Jew for Hashem, the simple Jew of a servant for Hashem. And if we take this to heart, and if we respond accordingly what the shofar is telling us to do, it's no question we'll be able to go through the Yom Hadin, throughout Yom Kippur, unscathed and healthy, become tzaddikim, and be written in the Sefer for life with B'yis B'shei Tzidkeinu B'meher V'yameinu. Amen.